All right, so it's finally time to get back to the fun stuff. And we're going to do the prospecting video for the Detroit Tigers, which I know I've been promising you guys it for a while, probably over a year now, that I've been saying we're going to get this done. But we're going to get it done now. So I hope you guys enjoy the list. Let me know along the way if you disagree with something, if you want to find out more about another player, if you want the cards and stuff listed again, because I brought that up the last video, the Cincinnati Reds, when I did them. I brought up the video to see if you guys wanted me to add the cards back in. I know some people had complained about, they just wanted to get the prospecting, but I know some of you guys are in it for the cards. You know me, I love the cards. So let me know in the comment section below if you want to see the cards moving forward on this stuff. We're not going to do them this time, but if you guys say you want it, then we'll add them in there. Doesn't add too much more to it, but I understand some of y'all just want to see the prospects. You don't necessarily worry about the cards. So we're going to go and get started here with the Detroit Tigers. So come along for the ride. All right, so we're going to start the list like we normally do with a couple players that we've left off the list that in some lists may actually make it onto somebody else's list. But on this list, I left them off, and I'll give you the reasons why I did. First person we left off was Seth Stevenson. He's in high A. He's a center fielder, and he's 22 years old. So last season he hit 280 with 4 home runs, 37 RBIs, 70 stolen bases, and 425 at bats. You guys know me. I love speed, even though, as I always say, though, I don't possess any. However, I had to leave Stevenson off of my top 10 list. Between single A and high A this past season, he hit 280 with 70 stolen bases. He showed off his solid hitting and speed while at the University of Tennessee, and the Tigers liked what they saw, drafting him in the 7th round in 2022. He doesn't possess much power, but the past season he did have a 4-hit, 2 stolen base game against the Pirates affiliate. He has a knack for swiping bases and stretching routine singles into doubles. The problem he faces is the amount of talent ahead of him, not only in the majors, with Kahana being the only Kahana, I think that's right. Mark Kahana, yeah, sure, being the only player currently holding down the outfield spot, but also with some players in the minors blocking his way as well. His fastest track to the majors would be through left field, but his speed, he would be better suited for center field. He has played a little infield during his junior college days, but don't look for that to be his future. Next on the list that we left off, so I guess not next on the list, the one that didn't quite make the list was Paul Wilson. He's in rookie ball right now. He's a pitcher and he's 19 years old. Wilson hasn't pitched yet, in a pro game, so he doesn't have any stats yet for me to put up for you guys. Sorry. Paul Wilson last pitched for the Cincinnati Reds in 2005. The Boone High School graduate. Oh, wait. My apologies. Wrong Paul Wilson. Although go BHS. This Paul Wilson, the son of Trevor Wilson, formerly of the Giants, is a raw power arm. His fastball can reach 97 miles an hour, but he gets more consistency and carry in life when he stays in the 93 to 95 range. His curveball is top notch, but he hasn't quite found a consistent changeup. He has a tendency to rush his delivery and affect his accuracy. He needs a season or two to build his stamina, as well as being so young. He is definitely still a March monster, but falls off in July. Like the firework that won't quite light, solid lefty arms are a huge commodity in the game these days. So look for the Tigers to ease him in, but they will be expecting huge things from him. So that is going to bring us to the first player on our top 10 list, and that is going to be Justin Henry Malloy. He's in AAA, plays third base, and he's 23 years old. Last season, Malloy hit 277 with 23 home runs, 83 RBIs, and 5 stolen bases, and 487 at bats. All right, so this one hurts a little bit. Formerly of the Braves organization, coming over the Jimenez trade, Malloy has a knack for getting on base, has solid power, and can play a little outfield too to boot. He had 110 walks and 611 plate appearances this past season and has been working on his launch angle and hopefully improve those powered numbers. I've seen him listed at 6'3 or 6'1, depending on who you talk to. I'm sure he'd say 6'3. He does weigh about 215 pounds. So either way, he's pretty good sized gentleman. In 2022 with the Braves, he blistered through their minor league system, starting in High A and ending the season with 8 games in Triple-A. The Tigers have a need at third base with a bunch of unproven or platoon players manning the spot, which is why they coveted Malloy in the trade. If he can get his launch angle a little more on point, he will find himself climbing this list in no time. But he may end up stuck behind a player that's a little further up on this list. Next up on the list, number 9 is Justice Bigbie. He's in AAA, plays left field, and he's 24 years old. Last season, Bigbie hit 343 with 19 home runs, 78 RBIs, 6 stolen bases, and 432 at-bats. As a junior in high school, Bigbie threw for over 1,500 yards and 13 touchdowns. Wait, this is a baseball video. My bad. Bigbie's junior year, he earned his second straight all-conference nod behind the plate. There, is that better? In college, he played a lot of third base and corner outfields for Western Carolina. While there, he hit 350 in 176 games. In college and in his early pro career, Bigbie has been known as an opposite field hitter, which can be great, as you will see from a player a little further up this list. But the Tigers have been working on him pulling the ball more and making harder contact. This has allowed him to bring up his strikeout rate and has helped him reach all fields. Although his speed isn't great and his arm is nothing to write home about, his bat should keep him in most lineups for years to come. Number 8 on the list is Max Anderson. He's in low A. He's a shortstop and he's 21 years old. Last year he had 289 with 2 home runs, 21 RBIs, and 2 stolen bases, and only 128 at-bats. I know what some of you are thinking. Not the Max that I want to hear about. But this kid can't hold his own for sure. Anderson was the 2021 Freshman College Player of the Year, opting to stay in his home state of Nebraska to play. He was the state's top player in high school in 2020, winning the state's Gatorade Player of the Year award. Anderson was drafted in the second round of this year's draft after hitting .410 at Nebraska. Like a lot of the players the Tigers have been stockpiling, Anderson has a way of barreling the ball to the opposite field, which for righties opens up Comerica Park's short porch. He has hit a few too many grounders, which, like Malloy, the Tigers have been working on his launch angle as well. Anderson's defense leaves a lot to be desired. With a lack of range and a below average arm, look for possibly a move to first base, although that would collide him with torque at first. So maybe a DH role. So number 7 is going to be Kevin McGonigal. He's in he's in low A. He's a shortstop and he's 19 years old. Last season he hit 315 with 1 home run, 6 RBIs, and 8 stolen bases, but it was only in 73 at-bats. The Tigers are coming in hot with their 2023 draft class. McGonigal is a pure hitter for sure. His defensive speed leave a little to be desired, and it may force him to have to make the switch to second base full time. With the Tigers' lack of depth in the middle infield, with lackluster Andy Ibanez and struggling Javier Baez managing those positions, McGonigal may get an early look in the spring, but his youth will require a few seasons in the minors. Look for 2025 at the earliest debut, but most likely at 2027. Of all the players on this list, he is probably the best pure hitter, especially at his age. The kid can put bat to ball and has a baseball IQ to be an effective runner on the base paths. Number 6 is Troy Melton. He's in high A. He's a starting pitcher and he's 23 years old. Last season, he was 3-1 with a 2.74 ERA, a 1.14 whip, and 94 strikeouts and 92 innings. The 6'4" Melton is out of San Diego State and has looked solid so far in the Tigers system. He features a mid-90s fastball with a little extra life to it. His slider is really more of a slow breaking ball, so if he can add a little bit of velocity to that pitch, he would make even greater strides. He has added an upper 80s cutter in his arsenal, which is turning into a solid pitch for him. He also threw an upper 80s changeup. If he can get a bit of a speed differential amongst his pitches, he should grow more as a pitcher. Either bring up his fastball velocity or by shaving off a few miles per hour on that changeup. Over time, he should add a mile or two to that cutter as well. With Milton's size and skills, he should be a great project for the Tigers systems coaching staff. Number 5, we're halfway there. Whoa, no, is Parker Meadows. He's on the 40-man roster this season. He is a center field and he's 24 years old. Last season, he hit 256 with 19 home runs, 65 RBIs, and 19 stolen bases, and 449 at bats. Now, technically, Meadows had a cup of coffee last season with a September call up. He did struggle a little bit facing the big boys, though, hitting only 232 on 125 at bats, but he did at least have 3 home runs. Last season with Toledo, before his call up, he had an admirable 256 with 19 home runs, 19 stolen bases, and 449 at bats. Meadows made huge progress in 2022, finally showing the potential Detroit was hoping for when they drafted him in the second round of 2018. His power finally came around along with his speed. He continued that growth in 2023. Some of this has been attributed to his brother Austin coming to the Tigers, but Parker also worked on revamping his swing with the help of his old high school hitting coach. Shortening his swing path and removing a hitch is probably more of what helped him, although Big Brother being around couldn't hurt. He cut his Ks down and upped his walks. If Parker can continue this trend, he'll be handling the big boys just like his brother in no time. Number 4 is Jace Jung. He's in Double A, plays second base, and he's 23 years old. Last season, he hit 265 with 28 home runs, 82 RBIs, 5 stolen bases, and 486 at bats. Following that trend of snatching up younger brothers to bolster the lineup, the Tigers drafted the younger Jung brother in the first round of 2022 draft. Just like his older brother Josh, Jace won the Big 12 Conference Player of the Year for Texas Tech. He hit 337 with 21 home runs in 56 games. Jung has a great eye, sporting a 376 on base percentage last season, where he hit, as I said before, 28 home runs and 486 at bats. His defensive capabilities kind of limit him to the second base position, as his arm is not the strongest for third or shortstop. His bat is what will keep him in any lineup, as his speed is a little bit lacking, but he does have good instincts on the base paths. With his pedigree and the Tigers' need for talent in the middle infield, Jung may have an easier path to the bigs than most on this list. Number 3 is Jackson Jobe. He's high A, he's a starting pitcher, and he's 21 years old. Joe was 2-4 last season with a 2.81 ERA, a .98 WHIP, and he had 84 strikeouts and only 64 innings. Joe was drafted 3rd overall in 2021 and is definitely a raw talent. He struggled in his first pro season at low A, posting a 4.52 ERA, but he did strike out 71 over 61 and 2/3 innings. His call up to high A brought greater success after getting over the Jobe virus, and so far he hasn't looked back. Jobe just needed a refill. The second Gatorade Player of the Year on this list, Oklahoma, Jobe had a lumbar spine injury last spring, but has looked like the talent the Tigers expected since returning in June. He throws 93 to 97, although tends more towards the 93 in later innings. But he relies mostly on his plus slider, consistently reaching 3,000 plus on the RPMs with plenty of sweep. Jobe also features an above average changeup to go along with a fastball and has recently added a low 90s cutter. If he can continue to grow these pitches and keep his velocity at the higher range of his fastball, he could be a solid number 2 starter behind Flaherty in the future. Number 2 is Max Clark. He's in single A. He's an outfielder and he's 19 years old. Last season, he hit 224, 2 home runs, 19 RBIs, 5 stolen bases, and only 85 at bats. Finally, the right Max. And I know some of you expected him to be number 1, rightfully so. The main reason Clark is not number 1 is the fact that he may have to wait a few seasons before making his debut. As I said previously, the Tigers have some solid young talent in their outfield, with Riley Green and the aforementioned Parker Meadows, plus a few other solid outfielders ahead of him in the minors. Clark definitely has an inside-out swing and has power to the opposite field. I know the Tigers are big on working to all fields, so Max may have some serious work ahead of him. I don't doubt the talent here, obviously, as the Tigers took him with the third overall pick of the past 2023, this past draft. Clark was also a Gatorade Player of the Year for Indiana as a two-way player. Perhaps Detroit should just let Gatorade, go Gators, run the team. He also claimed the Baseball America Player of the Year. The Tigers are not looking to make him the next Shohei, but he did touch 97 on the radar gun as a pitcher. He projects to be a 20 plus home run guy and has plus plus speed in the field and on the bases. Look for Clark to be manning Detroit's center field for years to come once he hits the majors. I could see a 2025 September call up or a 2026 opening day roster in his future. And number one, it may be shocking to some of you guys, is Colt Keith. He's in AAA, plays third base, and he's 22 years old. I guess he's 22. Last season, he hit 306 with 27 home runs, 101 RBIs, 3 stolen bases, and he had 507 at bats. Keith makes number one on this list mostly because of his potential to make the Tigers opening day roster this upcoming season. With that said, his talent is the most polished of this group. He hit 306 this past year with 27 home runs and 101 RBIs. He was just as hot in 2022, hitting 301, but a June shoulder injury when he was diving back to the bag on a play put his season to an end. He's 6'2" and has added a few pounds to reach 211. So the increased size has helped add a little more power. Keith also was a two-way player in high school like Clark, reaching 93 at times from the mound. That arm strength will play nicely at third for the Tigers, hopefully as soon as next April. He has played some second base, but third appears to be the best spot for him. With the lack of speed and with not much in front of him at third for Detroit. The Tigers do need middle infield help, but they should be able to find that elsewhere in their farm system. Look for Keith to make a splash this spring. All right, so that's going to wrap this video up for the Detroit Tigers. Next will be the Houston Astros, I think. We're jumping all the way from D to H, but I think Houston's the next one on the list. So that'll be interesting. I'll get my trash can lids out and start banging around and see what I can find out. Go ahead and let me know if you agree with this list, disagree with this list. Like, put it down in the comments, and then you can go ahead and subscribe over here, I think, by my shadow. And then you can watch my next video right over here. Parker can continue to this trend